the fat. Free!
And welcome to week 4. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting that I have that intro available because it is completely pertinent to today's discussion. But before we get to that, I'm going to talk about the lifting real quick. It was almost like the tale of two halves this week. The Saturday, Sunday, first half of the week, murdered it. Just murdered it. And I was like, yeah, I'm a beast. And then we had some great equalizer action. And Tuesday and Wednesday didn't go quite as well, but that was more of it didn't feel so good. But I still got the targeted work done. So that was good to get that done, even though I didn't feel 100%. Because if you notice here, I had 205 on the bench for 4 sets of 3. And if you recall, the last time I had this, I got killed by it. I think I only got 1 or maybe 2 of the sets complete. But on this day, there was no question, man. That bar was flying up. I was like, oh yeah! So I was pretty happy about that. And hopefully, we can have days like this for the rest of the summer. Haha. Provided, of course, the equalizer stays at bay. So anyway, with the intro, what I wanted to talk about was, again, going back to last week's discussion, we're going to continue that, the topic of losing heat and how that requires your body to burn more calories. And just before we get going, of course I had to celebrate. Anyway, so if you notice in that intro, that was shot in late March or early April of whatever year that was. And, it was evening. The temperature, I would say, was probably in the 60s. And if you notice, we're all wearing shorts and tank tops. And I don't know precisely what the temperature of the water was, but I don't think it was that different from the air temperature. It was probably, within 10 degrees, I'd say. So maybe the water at the worst was like 50 degrees. But the big difference between water temperature and air temperature is that in water, you lose heat at about, I think I've heard 25 times faster than you do in air, and that is why it feels so cold. And we all actually know this intuitively. For example, for those of you who have ever just soaked your feet in cold water on like a hot summer day, that will cool your whole body off, and you feel like so much better, even if it's like, super hot and humid and completely uncomfortable outside. Another example that you all know of is like when the Titanic went down. The people in the lifeboats, they all lived, not because it was a swimming issue, it was because the people in the water froze to death way faster because, it's cold in the North Atlantic. And so you can see how the water pulls that heat out of you. Now, of course, some people have gone to ridiculous lengths and use this to A, diet, or B, eat way more food than normal. Probably the most famous example being Michael Phelps, the famous swimmer. A lot of people are like, oh, well, he's a swimmer. That's why he eats like 10,000 calories a day. I'm like, no. It's not because he's swimming per se, because there's nothing inherent in the motion of swimming that's better than, say, like I like to use the example of rowing because rowing is a non-impact aerobic exercise that uses, all the big muscles of the body. The issue with swimming is that you're in the water for like 4 or 5 hours a day during practice, and even if that pool temperature is like 75, 80 degrees, you're losing tons and tons of heat that your body has to burn calories to replace. Now, some people have actually gone bananas with this, and they give themselves like ice baths and crazy stuff like that. But it's something that you should keep in mind, because everybody says, calories in equals calories out, which is always true, but they don't think about the idea that calories can kind of be taken from you. They always think of, the only way you can get calories out is to exercise. Now, I've never actually given myself an ice bath, but what I have tried is living in the Arctic house in the winter, as you've seen. Also, cold showers, that works to some degree, and also when I'm driving in the winter, sometimes I'll just roll the windows down. I'll blast the heat on the floor, where my feet are, and have the windows rolled down. So you still get some effect of the cold exposure, but at least for my feet, they're not like freezing off. Yeah, so I think the most practical, way to implement for most people who don't want to, live in Arctic house, is to just spend, as much time as you can in a pool. So I know summer is coming, and that's not a bad proposition, to survive the heat. But it might also help if you stay in for a good amount of time, to lose some calories to the water. So anyway, finishing up, this week was the heaviest week of this go-round. Next week is the final week for this go-round, and I'm off for a week. When I saw this week on the schedule, that's what made me decide to not do a heavy single at the beginning of the workout, because when I saw the numbers for this week, I thought, hey, there's numbers that I haven't actually hit yet. So that's what changed that plan. So next week is actually a repeat of week 1. And I think what I'm going to do for the next cycle, which is only going to be 4 weeks long, is basically repeat the first 4 weeks of this one, except add 2.5 pounds to everything. And I think that will be good. And then, we'll figure out what's going on after that. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.